Eric asked, why are people drawn to practicing witchcraft, magic, or spirit summoning? It's something that's across all cultures. Why do some people do it? Why does it exist? Magic exists as soon as there is intelligence on any planet, because magic is using consciousness to manipulate energy. Without that, there is not so much magic. There's just, if a tree falls in the woods, no one's around to hear it. Spirit summoning is probably the second stage after magic develops, because people start to personify the energies that they see. Witchcraft comes much later because it's a certain type of energy manipulation, a different type of technology or power. It is a certain class of magic, and spirit summoning is a certain class of magic. Witchcraft is simply a school or a line. Magic is the simple manipulation of energy. Spirit summoning is manipulating conscious forms of energy or personified forms of energy, similar to what people would do when they invoke deities. And so it exists across all cultures because it's a very fundamental part of life and existing, the energy all around us. Another question, a witch calling upon a spirit versus a grimoire magician calling upon spirits. The process that's happening is the same in both situations. It's simply the methods, because anything can cause magic to happen or manipulate energy or cause change, any type of practice. But the witch would do it one way, the magician would do it another way. From these opposite ends of the spectrum, such as a folk magician or more of grimoire magic or ceremonies and ritual. They're both the same way that you connect to those energies, and they meet in the middle eventually, because the ceremonial magician and the witch, whenever they start working their practices, they eventually don't need them because the ritual is a tool. There are other ways to work with energy and spirits. So it can be seen as simply the methods, but eventually I think with magic, the methods become irrelevant. So it doesn't matter if it's a simple folk spell or a huge ceremony, they're working towards the same thing. And so once each of those come into that power and make that their ability, they reach the same spot. They can speak to spirits. Is witchcraft a faith or a technique? I've never been a big fan of the word faith, and I don't consider myself being a very faithful person. I tend to follow what works, what causes good to happen, what responds. And I don't tend to put a lot of faith in things. I tend to be more preoccupied with results and action, and instead of faith and waiting and hoping and trusting. It doesn't necessarily have to be a faith, because it is a practice, and it's either a ritual practice or a psychic practice that is highly linked up with religion. And that, of course, these days, a lot of people think that religion is controlling laws and rigorous rules and standards that you have to fit and rituals that you have to do. But it isn't that. It's a different type of power than that. It's deeper. So it has to necessarily come from the spiritual core. It can't come from anywhere else, because you have to feel it. And whether or not someone calls themselves an atheist outside of the circle, if they feel it and something happens, it proves that it's a technique and that faith isn't needed because it works. I know a lot of the times I've been actually shocked by what happens, results, signs, manifestations. It can be surprising, and you get the Twilight Zone theme song in your head and you think, wow, this is very strange. So it doesn't need to have faith and it doesn't need to have religion, but it's best if the person who wants to become a witch and practice these things, it's best if they have faith in their teacher and trust. It's best if they have techniques to make what they want to do work and manifest, and developing those techniques. And it's good if they have religion because it offers a structure to awaken and teach about and communicate about certain energies and practices. If you don't have all three of those, you're missing something. So witchcraft is necessarily kind of a complex bag, kind of a mixed bag. It's a lot of things, actually. It's quite a lot of things. It could be seen as a culture of people. It could be seen as the practice that those people do. It could be seen as the religion of those people. But I don't think it can ever be removed from the people. Witchcraft is less a religion, less a technique, more, it has to be more of a culture. It's a culture. It's a different tribe within our society, a different type of person with very different spiritual beliefs than most. The difference between witchcraft and magic. So I've said this in some other videos. Magic is what is our English word for what we call all sorts of supernatural phenomena created by people that causes some sort of transformation to happen or a change. Witchcraft is based on a similar type of category of thing in the world because both are magical. But witchcraft is magical in the same way that Catholicism is magical. There are transformations and alterations of energies through ritual, but also just through experience. Magic can be a whole lot of things. It can be rituals or beliefs or incantations or symbols or any type of manifestation can be called magic. As I explained that, in my mind, there's not that much the same because there are a lot of things that contain magic. Witchcraft comes from the English historical record popping up being persecuted by the Christians and popping up again when the Witchcraft Act was repealed. So you either believe that people were practicing witchcraft then, or people are practicing witchcraft now. Either way, it's a living type of practice that comes out of history. Magic is not localized in any way. It's used to describe anything. So I recommend people go to the country that the practices that you're talking about and see what the people there call it, and don't translate it. Call it exactly what it is and describe it exactly how it is. There's no need to whitewash words and put an English word over everything across the planet. It doesn't make any sense. It's like calling every green sauce wasabi. It's not true. It's like calling every red sauce ketchup. It's not true. It's a different thing. Famous question by non-initiates. Who initiated the first witch? I like that question. Interesting question. I believe that the person who initiated the first witch was the person who discovered or preserved the power and abilities that were by early modern society called witchcraft. The person who did that, whatever their name was, Martha Stewart, they figured out how to make it work, and they passed it on through initiation. So that's where the first witch was initiated. when it needed to happen. Thank you guys all for your questions. You guys are making this horrible, weird time great. So thank you once again. And I will see you guys in the next video or live stream.